So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are joined with Austin. Now, he actually made $110,000 profit last year from his agency, although he definitely doesn't give himself enough credit for that. Sorry, just navigating through the maze that is his house. Yeah, he honestly doesn't give himself enough credit for it. We go into some very interesting topics, a little bit about the way that he's framing his service. Basically, he has a creative agency so that it has a very clear, discernible ROI. We talk about moving out at the age of 19. We talk about how to manage social life and entrepreneurship and a bunch of other very, very interesting stuff. So with no further ado, I'll roll into the interview. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another student interview. We are here with Austin. By the way, where are you? Your office or your home office or?
Apartment. So just work from here, keeps it easy.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I like the background. You're in Australia, right?
Definitely, yeah, South Australia. So right down the bottom in Adelaide.
Awesome. Oh, Adelaide. The only thing I know about you guys is your football team.
Really, out of everything, Adelaide.
Yeah. Anyways, I digress. We've known each other since 2017, I think. Definitely early.
When I first found your content, that's when I first got your head pop up on my Instagram feed and thought, who's this guy? And then from there, the rest
is this asshole?
Who's this guy? What's he selling me? What's going
on? Awesome. Well, I don't want to take the spotlight from you. You want to tell them a little bit about yourself, how you got into this weird, wacky agency world, how long you've had your agency for, what you do, who you serve, etc., etc.
For sure. Dating back 2017, first came across an ad from you. I believe it was in July. And, back in those days, I'd get home from school. I'd go straight on my phone and scroll through Instagram because, what else is there to do? And at that point, I was doing freelance videography on and off, projects here and there, but it was year 12. It was the last year of high school. So a lot's going on, a lot's in the mix. For me, that ad was really a spark of something. It was a bit of a turning point, really. It was a bit more of uncovering that, hey, there is something that you can do out there. I saw all these icons, these gurus out there doing incredible things online. And this was my ticket to something like that. It was my ticket to a world I didn't know. So it's like my golden ticket if you've seen Willy Wonka. But I had that. And then from there, I switched. I said, okay, I'm going to commit to building an agency. Year 12's finished. I'm done. It was almost near the end of exams. I sort of phased out a little bit. I still gave my academics my all because I committed to it. But year 12 finished. I went into agency life full time. For me, that was cold calling. That was sending cold emails. That was bombarding Instagram, Messenger, Facebook, whatever I could just to get in front of local businesses. And at the time I said restaurants. That's going to be my niche. That's going to be the industry where I make my fortune. And I spent weeks and weeks and months and, it turned into 3-4 months without seeing any results. I'd had meetings, I'd had calls, but no progression. And for me, I knew it wasn't going to be an easy ride, but from what I'd seen online and people in the, the six-figure SMMA community when I first started, for them to have such awesome results, I was like, what am I missing? Surely I'm doing something wrong. And for me, it's throughout my journey, it's been this consistency. It's just trying to chip away at it. And I know it'll come one day. And I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor now. Whereas before it wasn't like that. So, early 2019, start of last year, decided, okay, let's have a real crack at this. Let's put everything to the side and let's go all in into this. And doing video production for local clients, for local businesses around the place for their marketing. And again, this was at a point where it was almost sort of a convenience offer. Some of these were already doing video. They weren't necessarily getting results from it. And I came in and said, I can actually handle this for you. That was the first sort of mistake or thing I didn't realize soon enough, was the fact that I was almost not a respected part of their business. I was just a service provider that was helping them out. And for me to go through the majority of 2019 in that capacity, providing content for local businesses, then trying to make the switch to Facebook ads, it was a hard transition. And, with all my local clients, there was never any consistency. There was no recurring revenue. There was no interest in them to take it further. They just saw me as someone that could hold a camera. So for me, I knew something had to change. And that's why, in the past month or so, I looked for a way to pivot from a convenience offer from a videography provider that just makes videos for the fun of it to someone that can actually help grow businesses with video content. I think it was in one of your recent webinars for agency incubator. And in it, you talk about, there's this cool diagram and it says, are you currently delivering a results-driven service? Yes or no? And I was like, no. And I followed the path out and it basically said, switch service, change it up. You're doing something wrong. Something needs to change. And for me,
while you're just a little caveat, while you're still making money from your thing, on the side, start building out the skill set in order for you to go from a convenience offer to an actual opportunity offer.
Definitely. And I saw that and I said to myself, I need to be doing something in Facebook ads. I need to be delivering something that's results driven. So I made that big attempt and I said, I'm going to have Facebook ads offering and I'm going to keep doing my local video business stuff. And the ads never took off. It was never hitting for me. I lead sourced hundreds of businesses. I sent out almost hundreds of looms. I kept chipping away. And I always felt like I was on the verge of, hitting that point where one of them would be like, now it's a client, now I've made it. But that opportunity didn't come. And I thought, look, I can keep chipping away at this and that's something I might do in the future. But I've already got this awesome thing going with video. How about I pivot it and start to incorporate a bit of the e-commerce, niche research that I've been doing and look at how does that space work and how could video play a part? All of my niche research, all the behind the scenes, looking at ad libraries on Facebook, looking at, pixel data, looking at website traffic and seeing that ads weren't ideal. You look at these big brands and they're using subpar creative. And I thought, how about I bring these two worlds together? How about I actually bring video with my local experience, working with some big clients locally and actually bring that to the e-commerce space. So video is no longer brand awareness. It's no longer eyeballs, but it's actually increased click-through rate, increased conversions, and it's actually money back in the business's pocket. So that's been a big transition for me. And it's exciting because I love e-commerce and it's a field that, look, it's all analytics driven. You can see the direct correlation between one video and return. Here, you put up a video on Facebook, it gets 10 likes. What does that mean? How do we gauge where that traffic's gone? So that was a big transition for me. And all of 2019 had led me to that point where I was ready to switch it up. And now I'm just grateful that I've made that jump. And now I'm starting to see, even now when I'm not focusing on local businesses, it's funny. I'm starting to get more inquiries for local business video from the seeds that I planted 6-12 months ago. So for me now, it's just focusing wholeheartedly on e-commerce, getting in touch with those e-com owners, which I'd already got. I'd already got their contact details from trying to lead source for Facebook ads. And now I come from a bit more a position of authority because I'm working with a few clients in the e-com space now, really trying this out. And I've got a strong background in video. Like I've got hundreds of videos I could show them and show them what I can bring. So from my perspective, I've got more confidence bringing that service offering to them. I feel like I can speak their language more because I've gone through this 10-12 intensive period, 10-12 months of trying to crack the code of e-commerce ads. And, behind the scenes, I've sort of figured out a few things. So that's sort of the journey from 2017 when I first found you through to, we're in June 2020, it's flown by. But lots of changes along the way, lots of little pivots. And that's been big for me, making those pivots to adjust to what I'm good at and, where my passion lies and what I can bring value with. So it's a bit of an origin story, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I find very interesting that you mentioned, I actually had a student interview yesterday with a guy called Peter, and he's doing around 10-12K a month from his creative agency, and he's already signed so 10-12K a month in recurring, but just signed a 10K one-off. And I was like, dude, like, how do you, to be honest, when I had a creative agency, as most people know, that's kind of how I got started off. I got up to 15-20K a month, but I was definitely like, I should not have been charging those rates based on the quality of video that I was creating, but it was the way that I had a marketing, I wouldn't say I'm a great, I wouldn't say I'm a world-class videographer. I really am more of a high-level macro person, good marketer, and I can see how everything interacts with everything. So I asked him, I was like, look, how do you manage to sign high-ticket clients and get such big deals for these one-off video jobs? His background is in sales, and his really strong suit is in marketing. So when he married the two together, he mainly makes ads or videos for real estate agents. His entire focus is making videos that lead up to a strong call to action and elicit a call to action. Whereas most videos are just like, here's a video, like there's nothing to do with it. So it's very interesting to see that, he married those two up, and that's where he started that's the reason that he's had such good success. And it's interesting to hear that when you married the two up, where, you're like, all right, e-commerce business is my knowledge from a marketing perspective. Marry that up with the video, so that way the two interact. And just kind of to affirm your point, I don't know if you've seen my agency case study. It's the thing we run ads to. I have an updated 2021, but it's the thing we run ads to get clients. But in there, in one of the slides, I showed the difference of click-through rate between a 1% and a 1.5% click-through rate. And then when you, and all other metrics are the same. We assume a 2% conversion, we assume a $10 CPM, and I basically bring it down and I show that you're gonna get a conversion, with all those numbers. Let's say it's a $50 product. You're gonna get, or 1 in 50 people convert here, 1 in 33 people convert here because of the increased click-through rate. So that's the difference between a $55 and a $33 CPA, is literally just a 0.5% change in click-through rate. Now, obviously the things that affect click-through rate, creative and copy. So, I want to look, difference between $33 CPA and $50 CPA is massive for your bottom line. And then when you extrapolate that over 1,000 or even, 10,000 orders, that's $17,000 to $170,000 bottom line, bottom line, that nothing has changed there. Just by, in our, the way that we talked about, because obviously we don't create the creatives for our clients, is just because we are expert copywriters. But you don't even need to be an expert copywriter to get a 0.5% change in click-through rate. What I think would be super interesting for you to do is give these people your creative and just tell them at a $200 budget, because with $200 you'll be able to tell. Put same audience, same messaging, same text. Just change the creative and see what it does for the click-through rate. And then you can basically punch that into a calculator and show over 1,000 or 10,000 orders what that actually does to their bottom line. And now, when you affected over the space of 10,000 orders, if you've affected their bottom line $170,000, it makes sense that you charge $5K for a video job, or for a one-day shoot where you give them 30 photos and 2 videos or whatever it may be, or maybe a running month by month, $2,500 a month retain, whatever it may be. But as you said, you've gone ahead and you've made something where they're like, okay, cool, this is just a video, to like, this is a video that puts money directly back in my pocket. So
Definitely.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. Sorry, go for it.
And just to add to that, definitely that approach there is something I'm definitely going to go and actually apply, because I think it all comes in the fact that it's all well and good to say that the content will get results, especially at this early stage of the pivot. But if I actually go in and show that on a small scale and then amplify, as you said, I think I've watched a case study like 3 or 4 times and looking at the iPad drawings and things like that. But definitely, so that creative there, it's all been in the messaging for me. Before, it was almost the same thing for local businesses. I wanted to create video content so that their leads would better engage. So there would be more throughput throughout the whole sales cycle. And I never had any way to measure that. But now inside of Facebook, I have all the analytics I could ever need to see if the content is performing as it should. So, definitely. And I heard from someone else recently that, if we look at Facebook as like a pie, and a significant portion of that pie in terms of ad placements requires video. So if you're not using video in some way in the advertising side of things, you are missing out on some potential and very, very lucrative placements that Facebook can offer. So now it's just bringing those pieces together, bringing that understanding, and then taking that to an e-com brand and saying you're leaving a lot and you're spending a lot. So it's going to those clients that are already spending on ads. They already understand the marketing. They understand it all. And now it's just saying you're creative. It's subpar, and trial this. It's going to work. And when it does, there'll be some happy customers, really.
Yeah, exactly. And you can, once again, use, because here's the thing. I like to make sure that there is no room for interpretation. As everyone knows, I'm a very black and white kind of logical guy. So, I don't even, in your instance, rather than saying like, oh, we got a different CPA or a different cost, like you can literally run a isolated test just to see what difference the creative has. And obviously the only KPI which would be reflected, the CPM shouldn't be any different. I guess depending on the results within the first $100, $10 spend, Facebook. Now we're getting a little more technical, but my point is the click-through rate will tell you everything you need to know. And as I said, it's just like, I don't know, it would just bring me so much satisfaction, because it brought me so much satisfaction to show what it did in terms of copywriting standpoint, in terms of video standpoint, like what that means bottom line. And then what else would be awesome is like you can show that equivalent in bottom line is the equivalent of making, let's say, let's say you bring them an extra 100K in bottom line over 10,000 orders. That would be the equivalent of them bringing an extra 300K in rev, because once again, that's bottom line. So like, I don't know, I love like, things get easier when you're just, I don't know if you do this, like I do this all the time. I always think, what rebuttal could a client have? And I just walk my case. Look, there's an emotional case and that you can't really make waterproof, but my logical case to be as watertight as possible.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think you will have absolutely no issues whatsoever when you frame it that way, when you position yourself.
For sure. And looking ahead of time. And again, as you said, with the rebuttals, if I can have that cold, hard evidence there and say, this is what's going to happen. You've literally seen it in your own ad account. Then when it comes to scaling, there's no hesitations. There's no, is this going to work? And you can have a guarantee in place as well. And that's something I'm looking to add at the moment. I'm working with a brand consultant to really get the messaging right for this pivot. And for me, it's the fact that, look, maybe we come up with a metric and say, if we can't increase click-through rate by a certain percentage, we'll literally refund you your service fee because we're that confident in it. So it's, again, taking all the, as you say, no downside, infinite upside. If I can paint that clear picture through how we present the brand, my outreach, and again, through the results that we get, then that's what really excites me. And that's why I'm so eager to continue to make this transition into e-commerce, really.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that I did notice is you haven't given yourself enough credit for, what you did in 2018, 2019, because you want to tell me a little bit about your agency's revenue over the space of 2018, because it's not like you've never signed a client before. Yeah.
So in 2019 was, I'd say, the first year of my agency. I had the last 2 months before Christmas in 2018 after I finished high school. But 2019, first year in, I hit, was it 130, 140 Australian revenue, 40K revenue. And profit was about 110, I believe, or 100, just over. So we hit the 6-figure mark. And for me, look, I don't know what it was, and maybe it's not being appreciative or exactly of what I did that year. But for me, I still felt like I was so far behind the 8 ball. I still felt like there was so much more to be done. And it wasn't that I wasn't celebrating along the way. I love it. I love the building process, to see those metrics and see those numbers when I look at my financial planner. That excites me. But I still knew there was so much more to be done. And when I set out my ambitious goals at the start of 2019, to see me not come close to those, well, then it was sort of a kick in the backside and say, hey, look, you've got to get in gear. You've actually got to make 2020 something that you're really, really proud of. Otherwise, you're only letting yourself down. And I know, part of it is being hypercritical on yourself, and it can really do negative things if you are. And I'm fully conscious of that. I'm trying to be a bit easier on myself sometimes, but that's what I love. It's like the challenge of, get up, get back, do it stronger. But yeah, 2019, awesome year. And it was a great introduction into what a real agency is like and what business is like when you're doing it full time, when it's not a side thing, when it's not something that you do from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's more like a full time gig. So yeah, it was an exciting time, and I wouldn't take back anything that I did, because every little milestone along the way was so invaluable.
So I have a question for you. Obviously, you kind of were planting the seeds of your agency while you were in your last year of high school. I presume that most of your buddies have gone off to university, college. Have you managed to balance having a full-time agency, which, to be honest, you definitely don't give yourself enough credit for, like over 6 figures profit? You definitely don't give yourself enough credit. But look, how do you manage a full-time agency, being a full-time agency owner, as well as social life?
It's been an interesting balance for me. How do you balance the two, or do they go hand in hand? I don't know where I got it into my mind early on, that the whole concept of sacrifice, and maybe it's that whole old way of entrepreneurial thinking that you need to give up everything just to see results. And I think I fell into that trap. I was surrounded by, online. I say surrounded by, I listen to the podcast, I absorb the content online, and it's that whole old fashioned, I'll sleep when I'm dead, I'll keep grinding, just the stuff that makes me want to smack my head against a wall now. But back then I saw that as gospel. I saw that as the thing I had to listen to if I wanted to succeed. So it almost led to the demise of like all my personal relationships. I put everything on hold, just trying to make it work. And only now am I beginning to actually go and explore those relationships again and reach out and say, hey, look, I love to catch up and just refresh and get back into things. And what I've found, surprisingly, if you were to tell me this a year ago, I'd say you're lying, Austin, but it's looking at it now, friendships are amplifying my results. Having these awesome personal connections amplify, they don't detract. If I knew that before, and again, I feel like, you know, I'm going in a circle, but when you say you need to move through a paradigm to understand it, I thought at the time this was the right thing. But obviously going through it and understanding now that it probably wasn't necessary. Look, I'm just grateful now that I've gotten to that point where now I can realize, look, seeing my friends for an hour a week, like that's not going to subtract from my success. Like there's other things that are going to do that. So balancing them, for me, it was sacrifice, get rid of it, focus on one thing. But now I'm beginning to bring that back, going for runs with some old buddies of mine and really just getting back outside, which, you know, of course with the virus, it's made things a bit more difficult, but you know, I'm just keen to get back into that as well. And overall, it's made me a happier person, you know, just getting out and seeing those guys again.
That's awesome. This is just a intuition. I get the feeling that you're a big morning routine kind of guy. Am I correct?
I love my routines. I love my structure, my standard ops. I've got like a little binder, which I don't think another living soul has seen, but it's like this binder and I call it the Life Bible. And it's all my standard operating procedures for life. And when I need something, I refer back to it. It's like a pilot's checklist. So I do love them.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your morning routine.
To be completely transparent with everyone here, it's gone out the window the past couple of weeks. And that's something I'm trying to get back onto, because for me, that's almost like an upset to the system. It's like, what are you doing? But on an ideal day, on a regular day, I started at 6. I tried the 5:30 to 5. It just wasn't for me. Getting up at around 6, and then from there, it's straight into the gym. It's getting moving. I realized very early on that it wasn't the gym for me to get big. It wasn't the gym for me to put on incredible size and be a bodybuilder, but it was from the focus aspect. If I can get in there and just put in 45 minutes of hard work, then when I get up, I'm so much more clear. And then, you know, straight back into the apartment. I've got a gym in my apartment complex, which was a bit of a criteria for moving here. I wanted that. So back up, cold shower. And then, you know, I love those things. I haven't had a warm shower in, it would have been 7 months now. Like it just feels weird. So I love the cold showers in there, and then reviewing my SBA, doing my affirmations, which I haven't been all that consistent with. And then look, if I have some time to read before I get into the swing of things, I will. And then straight into work. I light my incense stick. I sit at my desk. I get my sparkling water and I'm off to the races. So, you know, I try and keep it simple. I fell into a trap of overcomplicating. And I think a lot of people early on see there's so many cool things you can do. One thing I didn't mention in there is meditation. I've tried it in the past. I've tried to incorporate that into my routine. And right at this point, I found it's something I can't actively stay committed to for some reason or another. But, you know, I've found what's worked for me, and, you know, for others, it may be different. So I've found my cluster of activities that I love. And if I do those in the morning, look, I know by the time I sit down at 8 o'clock at my desk, it's game time. Like it's showtime. So if I do those, I set myself up for a great day.
That's awesome. And to be honest, having a cold shower, if you do it for enough minutes, it's basically like active meditation. I mean, it shoots you straight into what it feels like being 15, 20 minutes into a deep flow in meditation is like your first 10 seconds with a cold shower. Cause you have no time or no space to think. It's just, it's total silence up here. My last and final question for you is your apartment. So I'm assuming you're living alone in your apartment.
Yeah.
So you're what, 20?
19. 20 in August. 2 months time.
So what do your parents make of all this? You know, 19, didn't go to uni, didn't go to college. You've got your own apartment. It looks a very beautiful, new modern complex, you know, making over 100K a month profit. Like, this is genuinely like out of curiosity, like, cause the thing is with me, with my mom, like, it's like, I was like 14 and I'm like, I'm not going to uni or college. Like, I'm going to be successful on my own. And like, you know, with me, when I dropped out of high school, it was a matter of like, I was already supporting myself and my mom. It's like, there wasn't much she could say, to be honest. But I know for like other people, it must be so like weird. And I also know that like in our world, like 100K is like the hygiene standard. It's like, okay, this person makes 100, but it's like, sometimes stepping out into the real world and realizing that like, if you're below the age of 25, you're going to make, at least in the UK, you're going to make between 24 and 30,000 a year full-time job, like full-time, 8 hours a day, 2 hours a day commute. That's normal. You know, even Kieran, when he first started at Kieran, my product manager, when he first started at his agency, full scale agency, doing $500,000 a month in rev, you start off at 18K salary, you know, and he had a law degree. Like, you know, it's not like he was just some shitty 18-year-old intern. Like, this is after law school. Like, you know, and so sometimes just stepping back and realizing like, yo, 100K before the age of even 30 is weird. That's not a normal thing. So, you know, sometimes we have to come to that realization, but you know, I always think about the parents or the friends, like what they make of it.
Yeah. Just quickly on that, the whole, like the 100K is almost like a normal thing in this space. I don't know what's happened, but now when I chat with people, I feel like it's very distorted. Like how I think has changed incredibly since I first came across your content in July of 2017. For some reason, my whole perception of what a lot of money is now when I get like a 2,000, 3,000 deal, like there's one in the works now, which could be like a 20K one-off project. And I think about that and I think, like, if I was 17 and I saw that kind of money, I would literally think I'm a straight bowler. Like I'd go out, I'd go and like hire a Lambo, go take a photo in front of it. I'd think I was the top guy. But now it's like, I just think of it as part of the process and I don't get caught up in that stuff. So it's very weird, you know, just that transition of really being around those people that elevate you. It's very strange. But for my parents, it literally went from school. So they dropped me off. They'd see me in the night and I'd be doing my homework, all that kind of stuff. I was playing soccer. I was a goalkeeper. So I had sport training literally every second night. And so I was barely home, you know, throughout most of my last year of high school. And then for them to hear that I was going to go full-time into business, like I was going to do my own thing, they had a good 9 months of seeing me around the house. And then it came to November last year and I said, hey, Mom, I'm moving out. And hey, Dad, I'm moving out. And Dad was like, yeah, all good. Like I knew it was going to happen eventually. You've kept talking about it. It's literally on your wall in your bedroom that you're going to move out by this date. And you knew it was going to happen. And Mum was like, I literally just got you back from high school. Like you're going to go and leave me again. So that was, they were supportive of it and they always are. And I still see them quite regular. I got a very good relationship with my family, but you know, it was a strange move. And for me, I didn't see that as that strange. I thought now's my time. I've got to make the jump and I've got to have my own space. But for them, that was just so strange almost. It was a unique thing to see that their kid who just left high school is all of a sudden he's just gone. Like, so they're supportive of it. They still want me to come back sometimes, like, hey, spend some more time with us. But I'm like, Mom, I got to do this. I got to knuckle down. So it's a unique change. And some of my friends, you know, most of them still live at home, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when we chat with each other, it's just unique. It's different. It's very unique and funny how things change over a period of time. So parents are supportive. I love having my own space. I feel like I'm not banging my head against the wall because Mum walks in and says, can you put the washing up? It's like, no, I'm working. Like, this is my work time. But yeah, it's been overall a really positive thing. And gym's here, so I can't there's no excuses for me anymore. And I think that was my thing, eliminating all excuses. If I'm living in my own space, there's no reason that I couldn't be doing work. There's nothing. I have full control. So if I'm not eating well, if I'm not sleeping well, if I'm not going to the gym, if I'm not giving it 100%, there's no one else I can blame. I can't blame it on my dog for coming in and disrupting me while I work.
That's awesome. Dude, this has been an absolutely incredible student interview. We've gone over a wide array of topics. I must say you're a very, very good orator. So I tip my hat off to you for that. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom.
Thanks again for the opportunity.